Mercedes has really shaken things up in the Formula One scene, starting rumours and quiet talks about secret plans involving Lewis Hamilton, who everyone loves to cheer for. Let's jump into the mix of guesses and truths to find out what's really going on. Lewis Hamilton is a big deal in racing, known for winning a lot and being super skilled on the track. With 103 race wins, he's made a huge mark on the sport since he started in 2007. What's really cool about Hamilton is how he works with his team, giving insights on the car that go beyond just driving fast. He's got this unique ability to see what small changes can make a car safer and quicker. However, Hamilton hit a rough patch with his team, Mercedes. Even with all his wins and knowing a lot about racing, when he gave ideas on how to make the car better, Mercedes didn't listen. This didn't make him happy. He thought, who knows the car better than the person driving it? He wanted to make the car faster and better, but his ideas were ignored, which made him upset and worried about staying ahead in races. When the racing season started, Mercedes showed off a car that looked good and seemed like it would do well. Everyone was excited at first, but that feeling went away fast when the car didn't do well in its first race. Hamilton saw this coming. The car had problems, making for a tough season ahead. Now there's a buzz around Mercedes, kind of like when a star player on a sports team starts to get competition from a new talented player. For the longest time, Hamilton has been the main guy at Mercedes, but now the spotlight is starting to shine on George Russell, another driver for Mercedes. This has got people talking and wondering if Mercedes sees Russell as the next top driver. So what does this mean for Hamilton? Is this like passing the torch to someone new? The whole situation has sparked a lot of talk about what Mercedes has planned for winning in the future. It's like they're playing chess, trying to figure out which young drivers could be their future champions. One of those up-and-comers is Andrea Kimi Antonelli, a young racer who's turning heads, though he's not in Formula One yet. He's showing a lot of promise. People are excited to see if Antonelli might end up racing for Mercedes in Formula One, maybe taking over from Hamilton or teaming up with Russell on the track. Mercedes has some big decisions to make, considering whether to put together the ultimate team to win races by weighing the potential of the new guys against the experience of their current stars. The competition between Hamilton and Russell adds an extra twist to the story. They've had some close calls on the track, like this one time in Japan at the Suzuka circuit where they almost crashed into each other. It was a real nail-biter. You could hear the frustration in Russell's voice over the radio asking, who are we really racing here? Each other or everyone else? It was a real moment of tension, showing just how fine a line there is between working together and competing. Towards the end of the race, things got even more dramatic. Hamilton was right behind Russell, and they were trying to pull off a strategy to get ahead of Carlos Sainz from Ferrari using a device called DRS.
Russell needs that DRS, he's got the DRS, but he's also got Carlos Sainz.
But things didn't go as planned. Hamilton ended up passing Russell, who then also fell behind Sainz. It was a letdown, seeing their plan fall apart like that. Mercedes is in a tough spot, trying to make the most of Hamilton and Russell's competitiveness without letting it hurt their chances at winning championships. It's all about finding the right balance between encouraging a bit of rivalry, but not letting it get in the way of the bigger picture. This isn't just exciting for us watching, it's a big challenge for Mercedes. Every race tests their strategies, with every decision potentially changing the outcome, affecting not just the race day, but the whole team's future direction and morale. Looking at the bigger picture of the 2023 Formula One season, Mercedes, Aston Martin and Ferrari are all trying to make their mark in different ways. At the Bahrain Grand Prix, Mercedes had a tough time keeping up with the competition. Hamilton and Russell struggled a bit because their car didn't have enough downforce, leaving them behind the leaders. But they didn't give up hope and were determined to improve. Aston Martin with Fernando Alonso made an impressive comeback. Alonso's great performance in Bahrain, managing his tyres perfectly, showed that Aston Martin has really stepped up their game and could be a surprise threat to teams like Mercedes and Ferrari. Ferrari focused a lot on making their car cut through the air better with some aerodynamic tweaks. But even with their engineering skills, they were in a tight race with Aston Martin and Red Bull, showing just how hard every team is working to get ahead. An important part of Mercedes' story early in the season is how they listened or didn't listen to Hamilton's feedback on the car. It seems like they might not have been paying enough attention to what he's been saying, which some people think could be why they didn't start the season too well. Hamilton's not just any driver. He's got a ton of experience and knows a thing or two about winning races, so his input is pretty valuable. Aston Martin, though, seems to be making smart moves by listening to Fernando Alonso, another seasoned driver, and Ferrari's trying to adjust their strategies to stay competitive. It's all about trying to outdo each other in this race to be the best. As for Hamilton, as we have heard, he's made up his mind. He's gearing up to switch to Ferrari's iconic red gear in a multi-year agreement, starting in 2025. Now, you might think Hamilton was on his own in making this decision, but that's not the case. Loic Serra, who was in charge of making sure the Mercedes cars performed at their best, played a big role in Lewis Hamilton's shocking move to Ferrari in 2025. When Serra and a bunch of Mercedes tech folks followed him to Ferrari, it was like a big shake-up in Formula One's technical world. There were whispers that Serra and Hamilton weren't too happy with the direction Mercedes was taking with their car designs. Serra's move to Ferrari and Hamilton's decision to join him hints at some exciting changes and maybe a new rivalry heating up between Mercedes and Ferrari. And if you're wondering why Hamilton decided to leave, it basically boils down to his drive to win. He's always looking for a car that can compete at the top. The thought of sticking with a team that might not give him what he needs to keep winning championships was a tough pill to swallow, especially considering he doesn't have a lot of racing years left. At 39, Hamilton is very aware that time isn't on his side. In a sport dominated by younger drivers, it's rare to see someone over 40 still making it to the podium regularly. So he's really focusing on making sure his final years in racing count, which has him thinking about his next steps, perhaps even beyond Mercedes. Then there's the opportunity to race for Ferrari, which is incredibly exciting. For Hamilton, moving to Ferrari also meant the chance to work with Fred Vasseur again. They've had some great times in the past, and getting back together could be amazing. Hamilton has talked about how leaving Mercedes for Ferrari was the hardest decision he's ever made. He's thrilled about starting this new chapter, seeing it as an opportunity to live out a childhood dream of racing for Ferrari, a team he's looked up to since he was a kid. Despite the challenges ahead, Hamilton is eager to take them on, excited about what he and Ferrari can achieve together. So everyone was pretty curious about what Toto Wolff, the head honcho at Mercedes, had to say about all this drama. Well, he shared his side of the story about the time Hamilton told him he was heading over to Ferrari. They were just chilling and having coffee in Oxford when Hamilton spilled the beans. Wolff listened to him, understanding that Hamilton was on the hunt for something new, craving a different kind of thrill. He mentioned it was maybe the last possibility to do something else. Wolff also mentioned how grown up their talk was. He said, "How he framed it to me is perfectly understandable. We are big boys. We knew that by signing a short-term contract, it could be a benefit for both sides." He really showed a lot of respect for Hamilton's decision, saying, "We totally respect that. Switching to Ferrari maybe for the last gig in his career, maybe rolling the dice a bit. I guess that's just the raw deal of Hamilton heading to Ferrari." So, what do you think? Did that big surprise talk really show weak spots in Mercedes that could change their plans moving forward? Or is it just the latest turn in the ongoing story of racing competition? We can't wait to hear what you think. Jump into the comments and let's kick off this chat. Also, stay tuned for more news and in-depth looks at the racing world. This is where things get real, and you definitely don't want to miss what's coming up next.